everyone, I'm Amber. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a book review. This is Attached at the Hip by Christine Riccio. I actually went to her signing in LA for this, and she was so sweet. I met her. I've watched her booktube channel for years. Nowadays I mainly watch her writing content, and I was so excited to hear that she was coming out with the third book. I loved her other two. They're so nostalgic feeling, even though they're stories I've never heard before, and it just brings me joy and happiness. And I love her characters. I relate to them so much. They're so all over the place and real, and I really like that. I love that these are just nerdy, absurd, dorky human beings being portrayed in literature, and it's a relatable character. It's relatable to me, so I really like that. So yeah, she signed it, and for the longest time I was trying to figure out what this meant, and then I read the book and I was like, oh. And then I couldn't read. I didn't know if it said like Prince or I didn't see her write it. She was talking to me as she wrote it. Her and Natasha were there. It was so great. And they're both sweethearts, and I really loved actually getting to meet them after all these years. So let's get to the book. I would say out of all three of her books, I kind of liked this one the least. It was vastly different than her other two, and that didn't factor in to my judgment of which one I liked the best or the least. I just felt like there were certain elements here that were more cringy than others, and less believable. And that's weird to say because her other books have magical elements, and this one did not. But I love that her books always have little Easter eggs of the other characters from her other books in it, and this one had both Jamie from Better Together, and then it also had Shane from Again But Better. And so I really liked that. And then obviously we also had Leo, who's Shane's cousin from Again But Better. I get the feeling that Shane is no longer with Pilot for some reason. I've gotten weird vibes from them from the past, in the past cameo in the last book. They just didn't seem to be meshing well anymore. And maybe it's just because Shane showed up by herself here, and usually she brings Pilot along. So I'm not sure. She did the whole thing all over again. Did they get engaged? I don't know if they got engaged in the first book. I would have to look back. No, I don't think they did. But they did the whole thing where they went back to be together and, do things differently, and I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching. Maybe they're still together. I think that if I were in Christine's head, they're still together. I think it's just the way that I'm reading too much into it. So this book is a Survivor spin-off kind of book. I have only seen parts of Survivor. I am not really big on Survivor. I'm more of a Naked and Afraid kind of girl, a Bear Grylls kind of girl. And so I went into this knowing kind of what it was about, but not knowing exactly. I knew they were going to have to do challenges. I knew there was going to be romance. I didn't expect the romantic interest to later on no longer be the romantic interest, and there to be another romantic interest. That was interesting. she talked about when she was talking about the book how she has like confessionals, like basically they like talk like, and the only thing I can think of when I think of confessionals is like a Real Housewives when they're talking, or America's Next Top Model when they go in the confessional booth. So that is essentially what they are. They would like take them aside from like what was going on and from the person they were attached to, and they would basically ask them questions and they would talk about it. I didn't think the confessionals were needed, to be honest. I kind of already knew what was going on in their head before. The only confessional I think that was needed to be able to understand what was going in their head was Kennedy's. The first one where she's talking about why she picked Ori, and her like plan to make her trust her and everything. I did not trust Kennedy at all. I think that she was using Ori the whole entire time. So the fact that they ended up being friends, I didn't buy it because I don't think their relationship was realistic. There was times when she lied to her. There was times when, behind the scenes, like she would say something else about her, and it just like, and then they had like this whole like bonding, and I think she was just doing it, to play the game, which was really sad, but it was strategic. I will say that. Ori was, it's so sad because they mentioned that she was, so into Survivor that she practiced, that she knew all the tips and tricks and the how-tos and everything, but yet every single thing, every single decision that she did or made was not really strategical at all. She was just really good at puzzles. Like, honestly, girl, like, without your fake romance, like, you would have been gone from day one. And she mentions it at the end. She's like, well, we all know that I didn't do very good at this and that, but, I kind of, used him to keep me in the game. And I was just like, when they were talking about, like, him being fake and whatever. So she's like, he was my pawn, all along. And she was like trying to defend it. But like at the same time, the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, girl, you would have been kicked off from day one. I don't understand why people keep voting to have you. Like in the beginning, it was always like, Ori. And then like she's the main character. So of course you have to keep her in. And I was just like, vote her off. Let's see what happens. Like, at this point, I wouldn't even keep her in. Like, like, I was mad that she was still in there because there was no point. She wasn't good at anything. She learned stuff, yes, and at the end, she became more strategical. But even in the end, like, she cared too much about what was going on in her own head, how she was feeling. Her emotions were all over the place. Like, she wouldn't eat the spider. I mean, you had to know that this was gonna happen. If I would go on Fear Factor, I would know that's gonna happen. Like, have they never ate bugs on Survivor? Is it just me? Like, I would think eating bugs, like, in the wild, like, I think that's, like, a go-to, even if you haven't watched the show, where your brain would go for competition. Also, there was a lot of puzzles. I don't know if in Survivor there were that many puzzles, but it was like a spin-off. So they were basically attached to different people throughout the game, and you got to pick who you were attached to, but you couldn't pick the same person as the last game. The rules were a little all over the place, so I wasn't sure, if I don't know if it was because I've never seen Survivor or the way that they were explained. And then, oh my god, sidetrack. But she got sent to be exiled. She was alone. She was without anyone. She had to survive on this island, which I think it was just one big island, and then they were just going in circles. Because she eventually found someone. Like, so, I don't know. Are they all going to the same well? Are there different wells strategically? And then they give them water. Like, Like, have them go to a lake. They gave them a well. Like, ugh, it's like, trek to this well. But I think there was just wells all around the island, and they were like, this is your well, this is your well, this is your beach, this is your beach, and this is this side and this side. Anyway. And then basically she just climbs up a rock, and she wins immunity. And I'm like, she just trekked half the island, and she climbed a rock, and she gets immunity. And I'm like, that was too easy. This is mainly to just keep the story going, to have her in the game, to continue to have her ultimately have her big win, which I don't think she deserved. If anything, I think Osprey should have won the whole thing. And I think that's how it should have ended, with him winning the whole thing. I think she should have been his support. I think she should have, halfway through the book, I think she should have gotten kicked off. She was watching at home. She was figuring out stuff at home. Maybe she got called back for like an episode, like, you know how they bring back people who have been voted off, and you know, then they help them out for like a challenge, and then they get more romantic tension. Like, that would have made sense to me. And then the whole like, oh, they gave us like, I think it was like $1,000. No, it was way more than that. Because the show did so well and blah blah blah. So here, Osprey, I'm like, I would have been really mad if you didn't give Osprey anything. He was amazing. He was great. He was in the zone, and then he fell in love. He did all the things that the show was supposed to do. He made friends, and then didn't he have a thing with Leo? Didn't he say he had a thing with Leo? Like, why didn't Ori ever question that? That was never questioned. But then apparently Leo ended up with Rick, and since episode 1, he was like, please forgive me, for I have sinned in our relationship. Please take me back. And Rick is like, okay. And again, Leo is Shane's cousin. But, like, that was never talked about. It was just like, I'm in like with you. I'm in like with you too. Alright, and then they make out. Cool. I liked them together. I did. When they had that intimate moment in the ocean, oh my goodness, that was beautiful. Like, ugh, they just work. I love them. Remy is a rat. And the name made me cringe, and the fact that she kept saying the name. I just think in terms of cringy characters, I said like before, like, she makes cringy, dorky, relatable characters. This one was not relatable for me. I was just like, I'm sorry, but this is a lot. And although there may be some people like that out there, like, this is just, we're reaching for the cringe. So for me, it was like, okay, I wasn't vibing with Ori really at moments. But then I did like certain parts of her and her characteristics. Not that I wouldn't be friends with her. It's just like, girl, like, you okay, sure. Very, 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 very random. And there's nothing wrong with being random or a little cringy. It just was a lot. And she was like so easily distracted and invested with him since day one, like, you know, and clearly this guy should not be trusted. Like, I'm sorry. And the fact that he already knows so much about you, you should have been cautious. You shouldn't have been like, this is my romance right away. Like, the point of the game was to develop friendships, romances, like relationships. Apparently there was a missed relationship somewhere in there, that so they grabbed someone from the past, and then from their past, and then other potential matches. They did like critical research and everything, like who would mesh well with who could be friends with who, and then just kind of let it happen. My question is, though, did they have like an original, how many were there? I don't know, like, let's say 5 contestants that submitted videos, and then because Remy also, I think, submitted a tape. So did they also look for people that they knew in their past and could be Miss Love connections that had also submitted a video, and then pick those people? Because it sounded like they went looking for them. And if that's the case, do they just show up at the door and, hey, you want to be on Survivor? No, reason as to why or how or like, and that's, their love interest. So for Ori, there was Remy, because she liked him in high school. And then Osprey ended up being like her romantic individual. I don't know what the qualifications were to like match them. And I don't know if, because Jamie never told us who was meant to be friends, who was meant to, like, what was their premonition, their hypothesis of this. So yeah, I honestly don't know. I would have liked to know more about the process and how and why they were paired up, and if that was the ultimate, that was the end result. Osprey and Kennedy were apparently mismatches, but they said that they never had romantic feelings for one another. So, and then Kennedy likes females. So that to me just didn't make sense. Osprey and Ori are both bird names. They didn't mention that Ori's dad liked birds until the end, but I thought it would have been, if you're gonna hint at this later on, that, oh, they're both bird names, like the dads are both into birds, like, shouldn't you have mentioned earlier, or maybe I missed it, that Ori's dad also likes birds? But then they mentioned it later on in the letter. He's like, that's why I like birds. And she's like, he never told me he liked birds. That's what confused me. So I don't think they mentioned it in the beginning. But her sister literally is Lark. She is Oriel, Osprey, and Dove. Like, I don't think a better match could have been made here. So yeah. And then at the end, they completely forgot about the original people that were in the first couple voted off. I don't even remember their names. I think Quentin was one of them, only because one of my coworkers is named Quentin. That's it. I don't think they mentioned them. I can't remember their names. I think there was a girl. I know Rick, but only because of Leo. I feel like there was more. There was a girl. I don't remember her name. I don't know. Remy didn't feel believable when he talked. Like, they tried to make him up, and he was a very cringy one. And I'm just like, ugh. The fact, though, that this was good. The fact that he was a liar. Like, man, he irked me from day one. I did not trust him. And he so threw Priya in the fire. He should have been eliminated. I don't know why Priya was eliminated. I hear Priya and I think Priyanka. So many interesting names. I love Christine's uses of names, but here it was very interesting. And oh my god, just when he was in his confessional and he was like, I may be a chump, and I'm like, no, Tiny, no. But anyway, he ended up lying about his sister. He ended up lying about going to school somewhere, all because he had Ori's Insta. And isn't that in like shouldn't that be in the description that you should not have had contact with this person, even via social media? Because they're not allowed to contact each other after the fact, but they have each other's Insta so they can see, and that's how she did the research. And they were not supposed to be in communication, so she shouldn't have been able to find out anything about him. Like, I guess she could have, but like, and then she showed this whole video, and then they're like, yeah, she's right. And I'm like, shouldn't he have been eliminated from day one for lying to get into the show? Like, I don't know. And then the fact that he was just like, oh, it's my sister's dream to get into UCLA and blah, blah, blah. Like, he could have came up with a better lie. He could have said his sister's sick. I know it's been used before, but it's so much more, there's so much more feeling to it. It's somehow more believable. It's somehow, it tugs at people's heartstrings more. But he created a whole fake account. He, put pictures. Bro was on it. He was a liar. I'm honestly surprised that he didn't have any romantic, like, this was supposed to be a friendship. Bro didn't make any friends because he was a liar. You know, of course, like, he gave him the wrong information because he was a liar. But I'm surprised he didn't, like, get with any of the other girls on the show. I think it was just kind of part of his plan to be like, oh, like, Ori's the one for me, and, you know, that was their thing. They're trying to split us up because we're, you know, what would they say? We're a dynamic duo or whatever. I was like, kick Ori out. I was like, without her, she's nothing. You a liar. She's not good at the game. Both of you, goodbye. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, I mean, it's not that I hated the book. I enjoyed the book. But I enjoyed more parts. I enjoyed more parts more than others. And there were just a lot of things that were very cringy and didn't make sense. I know that I judge things too in depth, but when I really, really like something, like, I expressed it. Like, I loved her other 2 books. Like, yes, there were random stuff, maybe a little things here and there that I would change, but overall, I loved them. I did love this book. Did I love it as much as the other ones? No. So, I think I said I liked it. I did love it. I did. I love her writing. I think it's very refreshing. It's very new. She's a very unique author. I just felt like I was a little disappointed because it wasn't to the tier of the rest of them, the other books, and I really wanted that. I didn't want to be left questioning things. But could I put it down? No. You know, like, because I wanted to keep finding out things, but then there were things where there was moments and I was like, I had to put it down because there was so much cringe. So yeah. What was I getting at? I lost it. I'm happy Ori won. I really, really am happy for her. I'm happy that her dad, you know, went to rehab and he's better now and everything. I think it was a beautiful ending. I do. I really do. I think there were just moments before she won that it was a lot sometimes. The ending with Osprey, with her going to visit him in the bookstore and be like, will you move to California with me? And he's like, hold on. And then she's like leaving. And then he's like, no, I just need to process. Like, you asking for something huge. And she's like, I'm not asking you to move in with me. And I'm like, she's not. I'm like, this is the weirdest date asking out I've ever heard. But go. Like, this is, like, so intriguing to me. And then they're both moving to Los Angeles. Will it work out? Will it not? But she's still putting him in, like, basically in the right road to still fulfill his dreams because she cares about him that much. And I think it's so sweet. But yeah, Remy got on my nerves. He got on my nerves so much. Anyway, I'm just looking at the cover and I'm looking at him and I'm like, bro showed up in slacks and thought it was okay. On a deserted island. Oh, and then when they were, like, dumping literally all the food and stuff, or, like, the mud in the sports bras. Like, her sports bra was her bag for everything. And I found it hilarious. I don't understand how... Oh, I had it. Oh, basically, I don't understand how she had become so codependent on her family. I understood that, you know, she wanted to be able to be close to them. But it was so hurtful towards her that she didn't do what she wanted and the things that she like, other than reading. Like, she had interest. She just didn't fully fulfill, like, being her own person with them. It was just kind of like she would just follow whatever they did. And at the end, she explains that, that it's not healthy. And no, it wasn't, because she had never done stuff on her own, and it was a huge problem that she was this 23-year-old, and she always, like, did things with her siblings, or her siblings would do that for her, and she had never done something. And it was just like, girl, like, even me growing up with, overprotective parents, and, like, I didn't do a lot of things until later on in life. I was a late bloomer. Some of that is my own fault, but I had still done things by myself and developed my personality at 23. Like, yes, I was still growing as an individual, but I was just like, man, she is so isolated from everything because she is such a people pleaser, but at the same time she's a pleaser of herself, so as to, like, just be comfortable. And it got so bad. It became this whole big thing of she wants to connect with her sister, who is so bossy and everything, and she's trying, to, like, hold on to something with her, and then also trying to connect with her mom and, have something stable in her life, and, like, wants, love. And it's just like, but then she also is losing herself, but never really fully found herself. It gets just this one big confusing thing. Like, there's so many different components to this that it's hard to wrap my brain around. I was like, man, this girl got messed up. And her family is a wonderful family. But it got bad. And then when her sister literally was, like, telling her, like, you're this, you're that, she was very brutal. She was very mean. You were very mean, Lark. Like, you could have told her nicely. And then, like, Ori having this epiphany later. I feel like she said she was growing, she said she was learning, but it was at a very slow pace, Ori. It was very slow. You still were figuring things out. Yes, you were putting up boundaries at the end. Good for you, girl. But, like, I just feel like it wasn't towards the end where we were like, even at the end, I was like, there was moments where I was like, you still got things to learn. We're still branching out. It was just very snail-paced movie, and she acted like she, like, learned so much, and I'm like, girl, you still got so much. But yeah. So her and Kennedy end up as friends. I don't know if they talked at the end. Like, she didn't even mention it. Yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the book. Remy, like, literally being escorted. It was very movie-esque. Being escorted by, like, a guard. And he's smiling like, I got what I wanted. I got your followers. Like, he just literally just wanted attention. And to be able to get, I guess, more money to gamble. Like, he just, like, there was no signs of this when he was in high school. No, like, okay. But apparently the thing that he didn't lie on was that he did like Survivor. But apparently he kept to himself a lot. But a guy like that, I don't think keeps to himself a lot. Or maybe he just turned into this. I don't know. Anyway, oh, I wanted to find more about Wes's, like, new romance. Like, that I was very intrigued about. I was like, sorry, Ori, I know he mentally cheated on you, but, like, I'm committed to this. And there was nothing more. And I was like, ah. And then she showed up at his door. He was like, I'm sorry. And then she was like, it's good. And then she's like, do you know where this dude's house is? And he's like, you could have just texted me. She's like, oh, yeah. And that was it. And I was like, oh. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you all soon. Bye!